Hey everybody, it's Calvin Nation here today with another video. And in today's video we're going to be talking about these two awesome little balisongs. These are my only two miniature balisongs of my collection. On the right we have our Spyderco Smallfly. On the left we have our Benchmade Model 32 Morpho. These are sick balisongs, and like the title says, this is going to be comparison between the two. We're going to do a little bit of pros and cons, compare them in that way. Also maybe talk a little bit more about which one I like better. Even though I waver between which one I like better so often, it's really hard for me to say which one, but I think I've kind of boiled it down to one now. So you'll hear a little bit more about that later on, but like I do in my reviews, I'm just going to say or read out what the companies themselves have to say about the knives. Unfortunately, Spyderco didn't have their own description on the Smallfly, so I had to look it up in gpknives.com. But I think the reason why Spyderco doesn't have any information themselves on it is because it is discontinued. It's been discontinued for a while, but fortunately it came back a couple months ago. You can get it in foliage green G10 as well as Digicam G10. And I think in 2012 you might see a blue G10. I think it's pretty predictable. I saw it on Blade HQ. It says it's coming soon for a while, and I have a feeling it's coming out in a couple months in 2012. So stay tuned for that. I don't think they'll be around for that long. So if you want one, pick one up soon. I got mine even while they were discontinued, but that was already over a year ago. Almost 2 years ago now, I think. But anyway, I'm rambling. This is what GP Knives has to say about the Smallfly. They say, the Spyderco Smallfly Balisong is back for a limited time thanks to a distributor exclusive. This mid-size Bali Classic features a satin finish modified spear point blade with false top edge crafted from 154 cm stainless steel with a foliage green G10 scales. Again, I have it in black. Back in the day it also did come in a trainer version in red G10. You can actually pick one up on pvk.com. I believe it's still there. You also were able to get just a stainless steel version. Looked almost identical to the Spyderfly, but I chose the black one. I did have the chance to choose between all three. I got the black one. I thought it looked the coolest. Also picked one up for my friend too. So where was I? Handle is grippy G10 over stainless steel liners with holes towards the end for easy rotation. Spring-loaded latch locks the knife closed. Comes with a reversible wire clip for left or right-handed carry. That's one thing I should just mention right now. I do not have the pocket clip on there. I do have it in the box. This isn't even the box. I didn't get the box with this purchase since some legality issues, but it's in one of my Spyderco boxes upstairs, so I can't show you that right now. Maybe I'll put in a clip of it. But let's see what Benchmade has to say about their 32. I can see this is already going kind of long, so I'll try to speed this up a little. These balisongs are awesome lightweight flippers, probably referring to the 32 and the 51. Patented spring latch locking mechanism, D2 tool steel, 60-62 HRC, crown modified spear point blade, machine and skeletonized black G10 handle scales with 6AL4V titanium blue anodized and jeweled liners, 6AL4V blue anodized and laser engraved titanium pocket clip. Okay, so let's get started with the actual comparison of these two knives. I think, like my reviews, I'll work my way from the top of the blade to the very bottom of the handles, and on our way down we'll talk a little bit about the EDC and flippability side of things as well. So let's get started, like I said, with the blade. We'll start with the blade shape, blade steel, and the design features of it as well. On our Smallfly, we have a 154 cm blade steel, and on our D2, or on our 32, sorry, we have D2 tool steel. Now, which one do I like better? Well, I definitely like the Smallfly's steel better, the 154 cm, and the funny thing about that is Spyderco rarely uses 154 cm, whereas Benchmade often uses it. It's one of their primary steels, but in this case we actually have 154 cm on the Spyderco and D2 on the Benchmade. But like I said, I do like the 154 cm a little bit better, and that is for a few reasons, a few of them being that it has great edge retention, Awesome corrosion resistance, and it's relatively hard. It's also a stainless steel. On our 32, we're looking at a harder steel. It's going to be harder to sharpen and is not stainless, so you kind of have a trade-off. You either get a stainless or not stainless, a little bit of a softer steel and a harder steel. So this is going to hold its edge longer compared to this. This is going to be easier to sharpen. It's not going to rust on you. This also may rust on you. One thing to keep in mind about D2 is it's one small step below being a stainless steel. So just put a little bit of oil on that and you'll be fine. It'll rarely rust on you unless you're really using it in a watery situation. But keep that in mind. It's not a stainless. But other reasons why I like the Smallfly's blade better, that's hard to say, is the tip. They both have really the same kind of tip, same sharpness, although my 32 did come a little bit duller. You can kind of see there that it's not from dropping it. It is very minimal. You can barely see that it is a little bit duller, but out of box it should have came sharper. My 51's point came sharper, as well as probably all your guys' 32s. But reason why I like the tip better is even though really they're the same sharpness, we have a sharper swedge on our Smallfly. It's not sharp, but it is sharpened. You can see it does come to a fairly thin edge. It's going to be easier for penetrating and poking, that type of thing. Here we have our crowned edge, which isn't as thin, but I do really like that crowned edge. I guess purely EDC, a sharp edge is going to be better if you need it in a certain situation, you know, using a flint or something, but that's obviously really rare. I do like the look of that better, but this whole spine may come into use a little bit more than that one. Also like the geometry of the edge a little bit better. I love their relief edge on there. It looks a lot nicer than all of Benchmade's. I think Spyderco's grinds are a lot better. You can also see, one thing I like about 154 cm is the way it looks, but I do really like Spyderco's grinds compared to Benchmade's. I've mentioned this on a few of my reviews. Benchmade's grinds kind of look a little bit more scratchy, almost stone-washed, whereas Smallfly's, and I got a little bit of smudges on there, but they have, or Spyderco's, they have a lot more of a uniform grind, all same direction the whole time. I think it looks a lot nicer. But that's enough about the blades. Let's work our way down to the pivots. On the Smallfly we have a bushing system, and on the 32 we have a standard just washer and blade system. So in that sense I like the Smallfly a lot better, and you guys might be able to tell kind of where I'm going with this comparison. I'll tell you right now that I do like the Smallfly a little bit better than the 32, and you'll hear why as I keep going. But bushings are a lot better than the 32's design. It's probably really not that much more expensive to create, but it's a lot easier to maintain, as well as, you know, use it for flipping EDC. And the reason for that is basically a bushing is just kind of like a small tube that fits in between the handles and the in the blade, and you can tighten down the handles on that bushing as much as you want, because they're only like 0.2, 0.4 of an inch, or 0.02 or something of an inch thicker than the blade. So you can tighten down the handles as much as you want, and it'll still flow freely, which obviously I did. All Spyderco balisongs will have that. No Benchmades have that as of yet, and it'll always retain that same amount of play, which is amazing. And it will not come in contact with the edge or the spine, which is absolutely sick. A lot easier to maintain and keep up than just a standard washer and steel or blade design. But the 32 does have amazing handle play, maybe even a little bit less than the Smallfly's, but I would rather take a bushing system over this any day. But you can see the 32's does perform very good. They both have phosphorus bronze washers. You might be able to see kind of the gold inside there. Phosphorus bronze are kind of self-lubricating. Best washers you can use pretty much in any knife, and those two both use it. But more about the pivot system. On our Smallfly we have a tang pin system, which I actually probably dislike a little bit more than a Zen pin system. Now I like the tang pin look better than the Zen pins, but and I've mentioned with my 42 that they can come loose. Good thing about a 3-inch Bali and these oversized tang pins is that's probably never going to happen. I can probably say 100% that in the lifetime of owning the Smallfly, these will never come out. And that can be said for most tang pin designs, but they will wear a lot more than Zen pins, so that's something to keep in mind. But you will probably see almost zero wear on these as well, since you have such a huge tang pin and a nice groove to catch them in. And since it's pretty lightweight, you're not going to be hammering on those handles that much. But those Zen pins, they probably will keep it, the blade, a little bit less wear on it, a little bit less wear on the handles as well. You also have this little cutout in the tang, which I guess you suppose you could do on any tang pin design, but this can help for a non-lethal impact, if need be, obviously, which I hope you never get into a situation like that, but obviously it's there if you need it. So let's go down our handles a little bit more. One thing to mention is the handle thickness. Oh, and actually before I forget, I wanted to mention the specs as we go down as well, and I forgot to mention the specs on the blade. You can see that even though I do like the blade better in pretty much every way on the Smallfly, you can tell that the cutting edge is longer on the 32 by a fair bit. The Smallfly is 2.5 inches long. I believe that is the cutting edge, and the 32 says 3.25 inches. I don't know if that's the cutting edge or if that's the whole blade. I'm not sure, but point is, it's longer than the Smallfly, and the whole thing is longer than the Smallfly, just by a hair, and you might not even be able to tell that on the camera. But the 32 is at full length 7.29 inches. Smallfly's full length is 7.12 inches. So a little bit longer. And now that we got that out of the way, let's continue on with the handles. And I can see it's quite a long comparison video already, so let's keep going.